Pretty much everyone knows what CBD is, but in this video, what I'm going to do is take a look at some of the benefits of something else known as CBDV and how we can use it or leverage its pharmacological activity to improve human health. So for those of you who are brand new to my channel, my name is Lucas, the founder of Ergogenic Health, and my mission is quite simple. It's to bring you the most cutting edge health information that you'll struggle to find on Google. So if you don't care about your health, please do not subscribe to my channel. So first of all, we need to ask ourselves, what is CBDV? Well, CBDV simply stands for Cannabidivarin or Cannabidivarin. I don't even know how to pronounce that there, but just to put it short, it's CBDV. CBDV is a cannabis-based chemical compound that shares almost the same molecular structure as CBD. The only difference here is that CBDV contains a propyl chain, but really all you need to understand is that CBDV is also extracted from the hemp or marijuana plant. Just like CBD is, just like THC, it's one of the many potent pharmacological agents that can be used from this particular plant. So what's really important is that we take a look at the endocannabinoid receptors, and let's just remind ourselves that it is incredible that the human body actually contains these endocannabinoid receptors. In fact, these receptors, although once thought were primarily just found in the brain, what we're realizing is that they're sort of broken up into these CB1 receptors and these CB2 receptors. What we know is that these particular, CB1 and CB2 receptors are actually found all over the human body. We can see that CB1 receptors are found in nerve cells in the brain, spinal cord, peripheral organs, spleen, white blood cells, endocrine glands, gastrointestinal tract, urinary tracts, whereas CBD is mostly found in white blood cells, tonsils, spleen, and immune cells. So pretty amazing that the human body has its own sort of endocannabinoid receptors whereby things can, molecules and compounds can actually bind to these receptors. And also remember that the body actually produces molecules like anandamide and these bliss chemicals. Some of them are released after exercise that actually bind to these endocannabinoid receptors, which is pretty phenomenal. So let's take a look at the first benefit of CBDV. Now, this particular study was titled Cannabidivarin is Anticonvulsant in Mouse and Rat. Bit of a very basic title, but basically what this study looked at was the anti-seizure properties or the anticonvulsant properties of Cannabidivarin, CBDV. What was interesting is that it did display anticonvulsant or anti-seizure effects across a broad range of animal models of seizure activity. Now, the key point here is that it did not significantly affect normal motor function, which is one of the major side effects associated with certain pharmacological drugs that are used to treat seizures. We did not see any changes in motor function, which is movement, which is a huge benefit there. So to sort of expand upon this, there was also another study titled A Phase 2 Randomized Controlled Trial of the Efficacy and Safety of CBDV as Add-on Therapy in Participants with Inadequately Controlled Focal Seizures. Now, this particular study, the participants titrated from 400 to 800 milligrams of this CBDV twice daily. What they noted was that there was a 40.5% seizure reduction with CBDV, which researchers indicated that this is an appropriate, powerful pharmacological response in this particular population group and a very large effect size. This is interesting because they're seeing that CBDV is generally well tolerated and has some anti-seizure properties, which warrants further investigation. The next major benefit of CBDV, also similar to CBG, is the ability to protect the blood-brain barrier. You guys have heard me talk about the blood-brain barrier before, some of the key features and roles that it has in the human body and in the brain in particular, and why there are so many things that can, damage the blood-brain barrier, e.g., for example, Bluetooth, EMFs, gluten overexposure, and certain food allergies, heavy metals, things like that can sort of disrupt and damage the blood-brain barrier. Well, CBDV has been shown to protect the blood-brain barrier under ischemic conditions. Now, ischemic conditions simply means a low oxygen state. So for example, let's say we're doing super high intensity, very, very high intensity activity, exercise. In certain situations, the heart actually becomes ischemic, and certain times when certain organs can no longer receive oxygen, this is technically an ischemic state. What's interesting is that both CBG and CBDV were protective against this particular model where they damaged the blood-brain barrier. And basically what they showed was that there was a protective effect of CBDV, which again warrants further investigation as, I guess, a neuroprotective compound. The next benefit of CBDV, this study was titled Modulation of Striatal Functional Connectivity Differences in Adults with and Without Autism Spectrum Disorder in a single dose randomized trial of CBDV. Interestingly, autism patients tend to have some sort of dysfunction in the functional connectivity of the frontal cortex or prefrontal cortex of the brain. And what they found was that this particular CBDV was able to modify and restore that particular brain state or that atypical striatal circuitry back towards a more neurotypical pattern. And this was achieved through a single acute dose of CBDV, which is amazing. We're seeing restoration in one aspect of autism just from one dose of CBDV. So that's pretty profound in terms of its, neuroprotective qualities and ability to restore imbalances in the brain. You will be seeing CBDV linked down below in the video description. If you're wanting to look into it or purchase it, you'll see that linked down below with a discount code. In addition, we also see that this particular study highlighting the non-euphoric phytocannabinoid CBDV, how it counteracts intestinal inflammation in mice and cytokine expression in biopsies from ulcerative colitis pediatric patients. Now, the authors concluded that CBDV also alters the dysregulation of gut microbiota associated to colitis, and CBDV lessened the cytokine expression in colonic biopsies from pediatric patients with ulcerative colitis, condition in which TRPA1 was upregulated. This sort of preclinical study demonstrated that CBDV exerts intestinal anti-inflammatory effects in mice via the TRPA1 and in children. So we're seeing a beneficial effect of CBDV both in an animal model and also a human study. Since CBDV has a favorable effect or safety profile in humans, it may be considered for possible clinical trials in patients with ulcerative colitis. So again, a study that's demonstrating potential merit for CBDV in major gut-related inflammatory conditions. So now you're probably wondering, what are some of the common dosages used? Between 400 and 600 milligrams appears to be most favorable according to most of these studies, but it wouldn't surprise me if we're going to get an anxiolytic mood altering effect at even a lower dose, between 100 to 200 milligrams. So if you want to, again, purchase CBDV, you'll see that link down below. Please do check out all of the other amazing resources linked in the video description below. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.